over here on Palfrey Island, south to its older brother, well, maybe not sure if it's older, but bigger brother, Lizard Island, over here off the coast of Queensland. That's right off the Gold Coast. We're here with the 64th edition of Grand Platypus Open, number 64, as I like to call it, the ANZ Champs pre-show. Well, I would, but we do have one player who is eligible for that playing today, so we're going to be keeping our eyes on them. I'm, of course, the host Yaku of Yakuzaku, and with me today is El del Martillo que levanta con bananas himself, Light_VIP. How we doing, Light?
What's up, Yaku? We are, as you said, we are here. This is a kind of precursor to ANZ Champs. We may only have one Australian player here, but mate, it's pretty good.
He is pretty dang good. He is very much the hopes of, I think, a lot of Australian viewers going into the future. So let's get right onto him. Here in the top right-hand corner of the map, swatting all the way in the top right-hand corner of Oxide LE. He is a pink Protoss player coming down from the Sydney Harbour. He is going to be representing Fight for Justice. We have StarDuck.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Oxide LE, opening up with a bit of a pull first, we have the Malaysian Zerg player representing Malaysia. It is Neutrals.
I am super curious to see how aggressive Neutrals is going to be from here on out. I think he might have heard a couple of things or two about StarDuck, how if you let him get into that mid-game, if you let him get comfortable up on 3 Nexuses and enough Stargates, he is going to out-macro just about any Zerg player out there with Stargate. So it looks like he's going to be trying to prevent that from happening, at least for that pool first.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Neutrals has been around for a very long time. I know we haven't been able to cast him too much, but he's always been there, like in our dies. I think even maybe Ranger was helping him out, as well as they are, you know, together, part of the Malaysian crew.
Yeah, over in that, well, not quite Mate Hexa gang, but, you know, that Team Emsha gang, if you will. Played in the SEAL Southeast Asia Team League together.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, we'll see how he's able to do here against someone like StarDuck. Again, StarDuck, we would all say is like the favorite in a more longer game, as you were saying, but we'll see if Neutrals can be a little bit more aggressive. I know you probably didn't watch it, but I was very excited. At the end for the Copa Hyperion. Yeah.
I saw a tweet.
For the Copa Hyperion finals. The Zerg Lord like 12 pulled every single game.
Yep. Hi, May. You thought you could avoid 12 pools just by playing Protoss.
I loved it because
you thought wrong.
I loved it because in the semis, Jim went up against Shakti in the in the ZVP and 12 pulled Shakti. So I'm like, yeah, this is what you get. This is oh god.
Karma.
Exactly. Unfortunately, Neutrals isn't being that aggressive here. He did just go for that pull first. Really just to, you know, deal with the pylon and just to make sure StarDuck wasn't being cheeky with a cannon rush, which he has done in the past, so I don't blame him.
Yeah, I was hoping that from here we'd see maybe a Roach Warren or, you know, some kind of early tech being taken with that earlier pool, but, you know, I guess Neutrals just wants to suss out StarDuck over here. As you said, he's been around for quite some time and hasn't really played against StarDuck too many times in the past, so let's try to get a read of what he can get away with.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first time they're playing like in a competitive setting. Like I
would not either.
Yeah, I know StarDuck did play in a couple of Outeyes, but honestly not too many of them. So yeah, we'll see how they shape up against each other. We do see that StarDuck did open up with a Stargate, you know, which again is pretty standard. It's really what we would expect from someone like StarDuck. We'll see how much he commits to it, or if he just throws down, you know, a Twilight Council and goes for Glaives.
I try to think the amount of times StarDuck has gone for like big gateway transitions out of the Stargate openings. He's done that quite a few times. Very nice snipe here coming out from Neutrals, but the Void Rays are going to get quite a vengeance here. No Pneumatized Carapace and no anti-air either. These Overlords are in a lot of trouble.
Oh god, exactly. There are 2 queens here, which will be able to push this away. We're just barely able to save one of those overlords. So only lost 1 so far.
Yeah, not getting 2 supply blocked over here. And I got a fun fact for you, Light. When you resume from replay, it apparently doesn't work if either player has WCS 3.0 on. It only works with default overlays. And I might have had to do that last night. So, yeah, I forgot to switch it over, and now it's an adjustment. I'm adjusting.
Yeah. We'll make sure we fix that in between series or in between games. And honestly, I'm surprised of what we're seeing recently. I think mainly because we've seen StarDuck up against a lot more aggressive Zerg players like Goga, Joey, and Miyamika. StarDuck has been avoiding this opener, has been avoiding double Stargate openers, which is why like I like to see this now. It's been a while since we've seen StarDuck whip this out.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of funny to say. Just a couple of weeks ago when StarDuck was really trying to get away with all of these Stargate openings, but not really going his way. Finally, he's up against somebody who, again, he hasn't really faced too many times. He has sort of figured out that they don't want to be too aggressive, at least in this first game. So, yeah, StarDuck's just doing what he likes to do. He's getting pretty comfortable over here. Neutral's trying to apply a little bit of pressure, but it's not too much.
Yeah, it's not enough to like cancel the third or anything like that. He did kill some gateway units, and he may even get the shield battery. Oh,
if he gets it, it's huge. So close.
So close indeed. And right now, Neutrals, he is working towards a pretty decent army. Like, we do see a bunch of roaches, we do see a bunch of queens as well, as all the queens are being produced. 2 currently, I wouldn't be 3 currently from all 3 hatcheries. I'm a little bit disappointed that there's no dropper lords for like a proper German taxi. Instead, he looks like he wants to like waddle across the map.
Yeah, which is, again, just kind of weird to look at here. Oxide is a fairly short map. Well, when it comes to the third base location, right? Looking at each player's third, it's not too much of a distance for neutrals to go by, but he doesn't really have a lot of creep here. Those queens are still going to take quite a bit of time to get across the map.
Yeah, and he's not...
Unless he sends them out early?
And also, intentionally, he's not spreading any creep either. He's keeping all of his energy for the transfuses instead. Like, that's really what he values, and I don't blame him, right? Like, the queens, he doesn't have that much anti-air. Like, he has to keep them alive. And here we go. He's already waddling across the map. A bunch of shield batteries are being thrown down. StarDuck, he realizes the kind of danger he's in.
And he is just going to look to buy himself as much time as he can. Looking at the supplies, I mean... It's looking fairly even. Oh, I'm assuming. I have to actually pull up the unit tab over here. Yeah, 8 Void Rays versus 14 Roaches and 9 Queens. Yeah, that's pretty good for StarDuck.
Yeah, and I mean, StarDuck, he is being a little bit ambitious right now. Ooh, he does take out a queen. Neutral's kind of skipping out or missing one of those transfuses, and Neutrals is avoiding all the stack defense.
Yeah, it's something you can definitely get away with when you open up the path like this. But with that wall, he's kind of getting caught between a rock and a hard place right now. Those Void Rays really raining hell from above. A lot of transfuses being thrown down, but not sure if they were the most useful transfuses either. These Ravagers and Lings get completely cleared out thanks to the super battery and the cannons. And now it's, what, 8, 10 Void Rays? 9 Void Rays. All right, right in the middle there. Yeah, 10 Void Rays versus not a whole lot of anti-air. Queens have been taken out, and this is very much game.
Yeah, honestly, like the beginning of the engagement was pretty good, but as we see, only 1 Void Ray has fallen. All the queens get cleaned up. The defense was on point there by StarDuck. I would have loved it if Neutrals did commit and go up the ramp, but instead he split up his army. Part of it went towards the third, the other half went towards the natural, and because of that, StarDuck was able to deal with the fragmented army.
He has lost only 3 probes, and oh wow. So it turns out hitting Shift L doesn't bring up a bar on
really?
Yeah. Well, 23 units lost for StarDuck versus 104 for neutrals over here.
That's the thing, right? There's a reason why you said GG, because essentially neutrals, that was an attack meant to kill, and if it doesn't kill, well then, I mean, he's dead, mate.
Yeah.
Someone's dead at the end of that attack.
Earlier. Yeah, just not who you typically expect if you're the Zerg player going for this. Queens are very much running out of NG. GG's called. And StarDuck going to be taking game number 1. Gotta be feeling good after that. Finally, he's been able to, play a style that he's wanted to do for a long time. This is his preferred method of play, but this hasn't really had the chance to because, again, as you said, he has faced up against certain players who are masters at countering that. Now neutrals, though, he has a little bit of an understanding, a little bit of a feel of how StarDuck wants to play. Let's see how he adapts as we go into game number 2.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, honestly, I really did like the attack from neutrals. He was up like 30, 40 supply. Of course, you could argue that is a little bit inflated, but I do think that maybe the attack could have hit a little bit sooner. He did miss a couple of transfuses on his queens as well, and it did feel like because of the lack of creep spread, like the army wasn't really together. A bunch of it was kind of lagging behind. Yeah,
the creep spread is definitely massive over there. I mean, typically, when we see Mio Micah do something like this, he uses the overlords, right? To spread the creep there, but neutrals, he wasn't even in position to do that because of how many Void Rays were out in the map. He knew he had to go across the map with this push, but even if it would be less than ideal, even if the setup would be less than ideal, and yeah, that kind of affected things quite a bit, but I do definitely think that it came down to that big engagement right at the end. I'm looking at the stream right now, and those Void Rays were actually very much isolated in between the two bases, far away from any of the shield batteries.
Yeah, exactly.
Over there. It was very questionable for neutrals to go into that third base instead of trying to hammer down the wall at the natural base.
Yeah. Like that's why honestly I was worried for StarDuck there when he was starting to fight the army completely like segregated from his shield batteries. I was like, oh my god, this isn't going well. But it was also really cool to see him like kind of pivot back and then rotate around with his Void Rays to the safety of those shield batteries. I was like, oh my god. And yeah, we saw he barely lost anything, man.
23 units towards the end there. Right? I'm on WCS 3.0 now. Wait, I hit accept, right? I didn't hit cancel. Are my options right?
I can't answer that question. I don't know why you're posing that to us.
That's why I did hit cancel, but I changed it again now. I hit accept this time.
Beautiful.
I'm pretty sure. When we load in, then that's a whole get confirmation.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Oh boy.
So confirmed until you confirm it. That's what my grandfather used to say. As we continue our series here into game number 2, winner of this is going to go up to phase. Let me just double check the bracket real quick. V-Stork. And who is it going to be like? Is it going to be a player in the top left-hand corner of the map, already up 1-0 in this best of 3 series? A pink Protoss player coming down from the land of Sydney Arbor. Well, I guess the land of Australia, but, the Sydney Arbor area of the land of Australia. But he is not in the land right now, like, he is soaring through the skies. He is representing Fight for Justice. He is StarDuck.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Lightshade LE. Once again, going for that pool first opening, we have the Malaysian Zerg player. He is green. It is neutrals.
So already a little bit disappointed that this was a 14 pool, if I'm not mistaken, potentially 16 pool or 15 pool. You don't normally get 60 pool, do you? The point is, 17, it wasn't 12 pool.
Yeah,
it was 17 pool. All right. The point is, it wasn't 12 pool, but he is going pool gas hatch instead of pool hatch gas. So maybe, who knows? Maybe he does have something planned here. Maybe a Baneling nest after this.
Yeah.
Maybe a Roach Warren.
We'll see. We'll see what he has in store for us. What I will say is that if he did go for the same build that he did in game number 1, it will hit a lot sooner on a map like Lightshade. Like, there is a lot less ground to traverse with your main army. But at the same time, I don't know if you want to do the same thing 2 games in a row, right? Like, StarDuck, he's going to be a lot more aware of it, and he's going to be like looking for signs of it a lot more diligently here in game 2. So the likelihood of it working, I don't know, mate.
Yeah, neither do I really, but we'll see. StarDuck, if there was ever a critique we have of his play, is his lack of scouting. So maybe neutrals can pull something up over here.
Oh god.
He's hoping he has worked on that.
StarDuck, we love you, but you're right. Unfortunately, you are right. Every single time we cast him, and whenever he loses against Gogo Joey or Miyamaika, it's like, you know what? If only he scouted. Like,
please just make a tree and send an oracle across the map to make the Stargate.
Aye. Other than that, he's great. Like, he just needs to see it coming is the thing. He just you know, and well, to be fair, that's also what's great about Miyamaika and Gogo Joey. They're not just good at, you know, doing weird things. They're good at hiding it right from their opponent and making sure it's difficult for them to see it coming. Aye.
But StarDuck is being fairly active right now. Here's hoping he keeps the Adept alive, and you know he's just gonna continue to be diligent with scouting over here.
Yeah, here's hoping already. Yeah, 2 transferring workers. That's already a nice amount of damage. You should be able to clean up these things as well. This Adept isn't dealing like game-ending damage, but you know, some nice value already.
Yeah, whatever you can really do to slow down the Zerg player as early as you can, especially if you suspect that they're trying to go for a big timing, like in Neutral Sid in game number 1. And so far StarDuck does have some eyes on what Neutrals is doing right now. Already gonna get even more draws. Oh, close.
God, he does get, oh my god, he gets both in the end. Jesus Christ. This is far too much damage. Already the Adept died with 8 kills, well worth it. And I think what's important to note is that StarDuck is switching things up, and in game number 2, he is not going for double Stargate.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. StarDuck, he likes to go for a Stargate play, but he knows that that's gonna get countered eventually if he does it a lot in the series, so he's got quite a number of tricks up his sleeve. Right now, going for a more Zest-esque, I would say, switching to Glaive to Depths.
And I'm worried for Neutrals for a multitude of reasons. Probably the biggest one is that Neutrals didn't go for a scout. He didn't dive into the main base at all, so he didn't see any tech. He did see all the Adepts on the front though, and he does take note that there is only 1 Void Ray, so he is aware that there is a ground base or a gateway base attack coming. That's why we do see a spine on the way, which is great. What I'm worried about though is the lack of creep spread connecting the bases.
Yeah, that's 2 games now that Neutrals has been backing up the energy on these queens to potentially have some transfuses up, but I mean, transfuses are great offensively, but defensively it's also pretty dang good. But you want creep more, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely. God, there's just like, there are queens, but they have no energy. They've been focusing on injecting instead, and as a result, it will be difficult to defend all your bases.
StarDuck trying to get that over. Oh, does get the Overlord, and this is a very hard supply cap for Neutrals. Already is maxed out, and these Overlords are still a ways off from getting down. Like, StarDuck is getting the Dark Shrine behind us, by the way.
Yeah. This is I'm concerned for Neutral's life, like, based off of these Adepts alone. On top of that, we have DTs on the way, and there's no detection whatsoever. Would you have a Ling run by, you know, trying to deny this 3rd base? And I mean, they can definitely force a denial here, which is great. But what about the Adepts across the map?
Yeah, I'd be worried about forcing a denial, to be honest, Light, because that just means an extra 300 minerals that you can use for DTs.
Exactly. Aye. And there's nothing to buffer for these queens. Both queens are going to fall, which means there's less to defend against the Adepts overall, and now the Adepts are just having a field day here in the natural.
This is every Protoss player's wet dream right now, Light. Somebody calls this, he'd be like, why can't this ever happen to me? When I go for this build.
To be fair, like, it's been a while, right? He's one of the ones who embraced the sky toss pretty hard.
He is. That's what it is.
It is. Meanwhile, the Adepts are all over the place, and what I'm worried about is, okay, there is a lair, so there is the potential to morph in some mobile detection for Neutrals, but he doesn't have any yet.
Yeah,
oh my god.
That's very much worrisome. Oh, StarDuck is blocking himself off a little bit over here, so this gives Neutrals a little bit of breathing room, but I don't think he can really do much with it. If minerals are oxygen, then Neutrals just doesn't have a lot of it.
He doesn't. He's going across the map. He's making a Spore at his 3rd, which is great. He doesn't have detection at his main or natural. What's surprising to me is that StarDuck has not morphed in any DTs. He did commit to the Dark Shrine, but he just hasn't used it whatsoever.
Look at stepping here, the Adepts. Honestly, he does get the kill on this Nexus. StarDuck being a little bit overestimating the firepower he had available. And that definitely hurts. But not as much as how much Neutrals is hurting.
Yeah, Neutrals needed a win like that. He needed, like, that was insane. Killing a killing a third base like that was great for Neutrals, and now he should be feeling a lot better about himself. He can, start droning up. He can start teching up as well. He already finished his Hydralisk Den, and he's working on his Evo Chambers for upgrades. This is all great, and I guess it looks like StarDuck isn't going to use the DTs at all. He's just given up on it. Maybe he could have even forgotten. I don't know.
It's very possible. I guess Archon's not what you want against Roaches, are they?
Yeah. Oh, God.
I don't know, they'd be decent against Igris. Potentially, the Adepts are back at their... The Adepts are right back at it. Killing 13 drones. I was going to say, Neutrals did such a good job of droning up. He's finally overtaken StarDuck in the worker count once again. But, yeah, StarDuck very quickly put an end to that. Don't even need DTs.
Exactly, a lot of damage was done, and we see StarDuck, he is, taking up, he is transitioning. We do see Charge is finishing up. We've already got +1 done, working on some Immortals to help against those Roaches. But as you said, Neutrals isn't too far behind in that worker count. Sure, he's lost a lot, but he has been able to replace them.
That he has. He definitely has. But I'm just worried right now for when StarDuck's +2 finishes up. Neutrals has about a minute, maybe a little bit less than that, to really just get his defenses up and running. StarDuck is going to be looking to kill Neutrals here with one big push.
Yeah, my main concern for Neutrals is that, like, he did take up a little bit, right? He does have the Hydra Den. Where's the Lurker Den is my question, right? Especially because StarDuck is focusing, StarDuck is focusing on a Grand Army, right? Immortals, Charge Lots, Archons, right? Lurkers would do really well right now. Like, they would keep Neutrals alive, to be honest.
And StarDuck has no detection now I think about it.
Yeah. Let's go for it, mate.
Might as well. I guess maybe he doesn't want to commit too hard. It's a fairly expensive unit, and when you get the Lurker Den, you usually want to get Hive immediately after that as well, so you can sync things up. But this is one of those rare occasions where it's just better to have the Lurkers than better have the Lurkers that are not as effective than have really effective Lurkers.
Yeah. I guess, to be fair, like, Neutrals, like, his economy is struggling a little bit. As we can see, 14 more drones go down. Like, every single time the Adepts come in, they get so much damage done. Neutrals, I understand, like, he's feeling forced to go kind of all in. He's hitting at a nice time, forces all the High Templar to morph into Archons.
But the Zealots were here to buffer for long enough. The Adepts are across the map and did get taken out. I meant to Hydras. That's what I meant. The Zerg Adepts are going to have a lot of trouble trying to push into Archons like that.
Yeah. Into the Archons, into the Immortals, into all these shield batteries and cannons with overcharge as well. StarDuck is taking a 4th base. Neutrals, he's still on 3. Like, he needs a 4th. He needs another hatchery if he wants this game to continue. Otherwise, like, obviously, like, he's in a rough position. He may be thinking to just go all in and just focus on his army. And maybe he can catch the army off guard, but we'll see. He's going in.
It's going to take a lot to get that to happen. Yeah, well, not all of the army is in position to actually fight this with StarDuck. So Neutrals controlling the top of the ramp. For now, Storm is far from being done. And it looks like StarDuck is just going to give up the infrastructure over here for the time being, just really waiting to find a good position to flank Neutrals at. But he's not quite finding it. Neutrals might be able to do this here. The Archons body blocked by the Immortals, unable to get their splash damage in.
Yeah, mismicroing a little bit there. StarDuck is like the Archons, they just haven't been able to fight at all. They're just stuck behind the Immortals. Let them through, puppy. Oh my god. Finally they do, and as we can see, like, there's no buffer for the Hydras, and these are expensive losses here by Neutrals.
Yeah, Neutrals definitely had a little bit of fortune over there in that fight, but he needed a lot more than that. He needed a miracle to win then and there.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, he's taking another base, but it does feel a little bit too late at this point. Like, he needed this a while ago.
He needed this before StarDuck finished his old 4th base.
I
He's already saturating it.
Yeah. I mean, StarDuck, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a 5th anytime soon. Wouldn't be surprised at all. You know what? Storm is done.
A little bit of miss rally with these Hydras. And StarDuck, he's just feeling comfortable. He is just waiting for neutrals to push into him, continuing to expand more and more. He knows that he's already gotten to the point where he's a Protoss player with an economy that's out of control, setting little harassment forces here and there, and they're just continuing to get so many more workers. So he's just waiting for neutrals to go for one big desperation push and just deflect that.
I feel like that's already happened a couple of times. Like,
yeah.
I feel like we've already seen a couple of desperation moves coming out from neutrals, and we may be seeing it again here as he is across the map.
And this is a desperation move. Is it the desperation move?
That's a good question, mate. Oh my god, all the Lings were taken out. There's only a handful of virtues left to buffer for the Hydras, and you know what? They're almost all already gone.
Storm is pretty dang good against squishy units like this.
And this entire army gets cleaned up. He does get a couple of worker kills, but that was not worth it whatsoever. At the same time, StarDuck goes for a massive zealot run by, and there's nothing to protect these queens.
I have a fun fact for you, like 10 probes have gone down this game, 12 now versus 63 drones.
Oh my god, 63 and counting, because a couple more are probably gonna go down.
That's the amount of drones that a typical player would make. Well, I guess not really drones, but like SCVs maybe.
Yeah.
In an average game.
Oh boy. But you know, power to neutrals. Like, he's still sticking in this. Like, he's still continuing to pump out workers. He's crazy. He's droning up right now. Oh god. But there's Zealots here at the 4th base. If StarDuck wanted to, he probably could focus down that hatchery, but he really does want workers more than anything. But okay, he finally does turn around. Oh boy.
They're really gonna be battering this hatchery right now. This Warp Prism is... Well, I feel like a lot of things have been going well for StarDuck this game, but this Warp Prism is really what's securing it.
Yeah, exactly. These run-bys have been keeping neutrals busy the entire time. A 5th base finally on the way for StarDuck. His main army has been slowly ramping up. He's got plenty of High Templar with Storm. He's got Colossus. He's got Archons. More drones are going down.
I heard you like AoE, yeah. More drones, Jesus. 78 now.
Can we get 100?
That's more. That's more workers than I make, typically.
Oh god, are we gonna hit 100 before the game ends? I don't think StarDuck is gonna let that happen. He's going across the map. He's looking to end it, maybe.
Maybe if neutrals like pulls his drones. I know that will happen. So many storms. It's like a typhoon going down. GG is called, and StarDuck will be taking that series 2-0, going up to face Beastork next. GG, and I very much agree with Ranger over here. Neutral Zip put up a really good fight and a really great game, but in the end, sometimes you get a sneaky Protoss player who's able to just keep your economy down for that long with harass.
Yeah. Honestly, I agree. Like, I'm impressed that Neutrals was able to stay in there against a player like StarDuck for as long as he did, and maintain his economy as well for as long as he did.
Considering the position his army was at, you know, how behind on upgrades, how few units he actually had, I feel like he did find a better engagements, at least at the start of those fights. But towards the end, the math is hard to beat.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately for neutrals, but again, GG, well played. I hope he isn't feeling too down on himself, especially because he's still got another match ahead of him, as there is a lower bracket today, so he does already have an opponent down there in that lower bracket. But we are following StarDuck on into his next series.